Welcome to the Gold Saucer, where your dreams come true. Assuming those dreams involve a lot of grinding Mandeville Gold Saucer points, or MGP for short, and mainly cosmetic items from outfits, to minions, to mounts, to trading cards. Now, this video will cover the reasons why you would want to go here and what you can do here, not to mention how to go about farming all that MGP to get the things you dream of. Now then, let's start with looking at all the things you just might be dreaming of getting, the MGP vendors. First and foremost, the main prize claim attendant, because there are more than one of these apparently, sells everything from tons of different cosmetic weapons to cosmetic gear, which includes a lot of generic NPC outfits. This is also where you will find things like the common bunny suit or the gambler's outfit. They also sell a small fleet of minions and mounts, a vast array of hairstyles, emotes and fashion accessories, some barding and a bunch of music you wouldn't find anywhere else. And finally some housing items, which does in fact include a dance pole for recreational purposes of course. Next up is the Triple Triad Trader, which sells a lot of cards that again you will not find anywhere else, even including booster pack like items you can buy. So if you want to complete that collection, you will have to pass by here. She will, however, fortunately also buy your cards should you have any duplicates you cannot use. This can be a decent source of extra MGP when doing other content, and is one of the common reasons that players will need on cards in dungeons and raids regardless of whether they already have them or not. Finally, there is the Modern Aesthetics saleswoman who sells 2 additional hairstyles. Why she's separate from the main desk, I don't know, but here we are. And next to her, the secondary prize claims attendant will sell the common version of the Makai equipment. The Makai equipment is normally bought for wolf marks earned through PvP. The common version is arguably worse in every single aspect, and so I highly recommend you do some PvP if you want the Makai equipment. It isn't that scary. The disadvantages of the common variant of the equipment is that it cannot be dyed, and furthermore does not count for the achievements you can earn with the Makai equipment by having a full set. You'll be happy to know that all of the vendors are concentrated in the entrance square, which is round. Next up, we'll talk about all of the things you can do in the Gold Saucer, including with each entry whether that particular activity is viable for farming MGP or not. Let's start with the more time-sensitive activities. 3 times every day, reset on the common daily reset for roulettes, you can access the mini Cactpot in the entrance square. This minigame costs 10 MGP per try, but always awards at least 36 MGP, so you will never lose MGP from playing. Depending on a combination of luck and skill, you can get anywhere between a profit of 26 MGP to 9,990 MGP profit per try. The game works like this. A 3x3 with 8 of the 9 slots hidden will be shown. The shown slot is random. You are then offered to reveal 3 more slots of your choosing. Once that is done, you have to choose a line, which can be horizontal, vertical or diagonal. The reward for different numbers is incredibly varied, however, getting the lowest possible value grants the big 10,000 and the highest possible value grants 3,600, the 2 biggest payouts. Note that the 9 slots will include the numbers from 1 to 9 and no repeats, so if you reveal 1 and 2 in a line you can choose, that is the highest possible chance to get the big 10,000. However, if you would rather not think too hard about it, there are simple solver websites to help you decide without thinking about it. I have left a link to the one I prefer to use in the video description. This activity is very efficient for collecting MGP, given how little time it takes and how much MGP you can receive. Next is the Jumbo Cactpot, drawn at the Cactpot board. Once a week, you can buy up to 3 tickets for this Cactpot, costing 100, 150 and 200 MGP for the 3 tickets. You can put in whatever number you like for these tickets, meaning that you could triple down on a number, risking winning just the consolation prize, which, similar to the mini Cactpot, is so extremely large that you will never lose MGP from participating. Notice that the awarded MGP is increased based on how many players participate in the Jumbo Cactpot each week. The numbers for the Jumbo Cactpot are drawn on Saturday evenings, however, the time actually varies from data center to data center, with even data centers in the same region having different drawing times. Once the numbers are drawn, you have until the end of the next Jumbo Cactpot to collect your winnings. Given how little it takes to do the Jumbo Cactpot, it is always worth taking a couple of minutes to do it if you are farming MGP. After all, you can win 1 million MGP if you're lucky. After that comes the fashion report. Every Tuesday around the weekly reset, the masked rose in the east side of the Wonder Square, which is round, will have a fashion challenge for you. This includes a theme name and a few pieces of equipment with accompanying hints. These are the pieces of equipment that needs to be matched to the challenge. All other pieces can be whatever you like, but namely, you must equip something in all gear slots. Shield is optional though, as having them empty will deduct points for some reason. Every Friday morning, around the same time that weekly resets happen on Tuesdays, the fashion contest begins and you will have until the next reset to participate. You can present yourself to the masked rose himself and he will judge your outfit based on how well you matched the hints given. You will always be given 10,000 MGP for simply participating once, so swinging by here to give it one try is always worth it. However, if you reach over 80 points, you will be handed an additional 50,000 MGP and getting 100 grants a title. You have up to 4 attempts each week to get it right. An additional, sort of hidden away bonus is that as you accumulate more points in the fashion report, Kazumi's boutique will start to sell you more items, which ultimately includes both some dyes, music, an emote, housing items, and the spring outfit. If you don't want to go through the trouble of figuring out the best outfits each week, there are sites that figure out which outfits work the best quite quickly every week, so you can simply follow their advice. As these are more typically produced in an almost news article sort of style, I cannot give you a reliable link for this however. But the example I used for this demonstration was made by Kyoko, who can be found on both Twitter and Reddit. The most important thing is that you must equip something in all your other gear slots, otherwise points are deducted. Additionally, if you are wearing any glamoured gear pieces, the item will be viewed as the glamoured item rather than the actual gear piece. Next up comes the gate events. Every 20 minutes a gate will happen, which will be one of 3 things with a combined 9 things. Where these events start can vary a bit, but there are gatekeepers all over the gold saucer that can teleport you to where you need to be. On the hour, you can get either cliffhanger, a simple rush up a cliff. Remember, if you fall off, you can ask the appropriate NPC to get thrown up there again. Air Force 1, a shooting gallery like minigame. And Leap of Faith, Map 1, the falling city of Nim, a mostly horizontal jumping puzzle. Falling off will send you back to the beginning. You can increase the amount of MGP you are awarded at the end by picking up the bronze, silver and gold cactuars throughout the puzzle. 20 minutes past, you can get Leap of Faith, Map 2, Fall of Belladia, a very vertical jumping puzzle. You can also get either Any Way the Wind Blows or The Slice is Right, which are 2 different takes on a minigame about finding a safe place to stand without getting hit. For as long as possible, 1 hit and you're out. And you will be most surprised to find that I am absolutely terrible at both of these minigames. A key difference between these 2 minigames is that The Slice is Right gives you more of a chance to adjust your position based on the upcoming mechanic, whereas Any Way the Wind Blows pretty much boils down to guessing where it is safe to stand from start to finish. 40 minutes past, you can get The Slice is Right, Air Force 1 or the 3rd Leap of Faith map, the new one, Self Step, which is also mainly horizontal. Falling off the map will send you back to the start, as you will see my friend Sib promptly demonstrate right here. Overall, the gates grant somewhat varying amounts of MGP per time invested, but they all typically grant a decent return on the time you do choose to invest, so if you're hanging out in the gold saucer anyway, it is not a bad option for accumulating MGP. For the sake of comparison, Cliffhanger can be beaten in less than a minute and awards 3000 MGP, while Leap of Faith grants 4000 MGP if you find all of the cactuars and can take 3 minutes even without falling off once. A tip for Leap of Faith is that, as you cannot use any job actions, it may be helpful to know that the ninja job from level 20 onwards has an innate 10% speed bonus, which can make you go slightly faster at all times. On the other hand, keeping this 10% speed bonus in mind is also good if you want to go a bit slower, as it may be easier to maneuver. Speaking of hanging out in the gold saucer, there are a handful of things you can do with no time sensitivity at all, the simplest of which being the minigames. There are 6 minigames spread around the place, although the MGP per time you can get out of them vary heavily. Coffer Cur, Mogul's Paw and Crystal Tower Striker all grant anywhere between -1 and +24 MGP profit per go, and can be done in less than 10 seconds per try, which places a cap of over 8,000 MGP per hour should you be able to play perfectly, constantly. Coffer Cur and Crystal Tower Striker puts a heavier focus on timing, where Mogul's Paw is more about precision. Monster Toss grants between -1 and +49 MGP profit per go, but takes a strict 30 seconds minimum per go, and so is far less efficient for MGP than the previous options. Monster Toss and Crystal Tower Striker are found in the Wonder Square, which is round, and Coffer Cur and Mogul's Paw are found in the Event Square, which is also round. The Finer Miner and Out on a Limb are found in the Chocobo Square section of the Gold Saucer, namely between the Chocobo Square, which is actually more square than round, and the Minion Square, which is round. These two minigames are extremely similar and play almost the same way, and are mostly visually distinct. A key difference for these minigames is that when you win, you can choose to double or nothing up to 5 times, which can greatly increase the prize pool, not necessarily by specifically double. It also increases the difficulty of the minigame. Assuming some accuracy, these minigames are much more profitable in MGP per hour than the other minigames due to the double down mechanic. Take note that while double down gives you a new set of swings, the timer carries over, so make sure you have the time to win again at a higher difficulty before saying yes to the double down. Out on a Limb grants a higher average performance reward, while Finer Miner appears to be capable of awarding an absurd amount for a minigame, going beyond 4,000 MGP. For simply grinding MGP, these two minigames are considered extremely effective compared to everything in the Gold Saucer due to these reasons. Next up are the more specialized side activities, which all are deep enough that they could each use a guide in and of themselves. First we have Triple Triad, which is a relatively simple card game. When playing matches, you are awarded MGP for winning and may lose MGP for losing. This can, against higher difficulty NPCs, or even against players, require more specialized card setups, which I simply do not have the experience with the minigame to advise you on. Due to the time these minigames can take, they cannot compete with the minigame section for MGP. However, if you're out farming Triple Triad cards, then this is a decent way to go about it, as you will need the cards from NPCs to complete your collection anyway. The Triple Triad minigame as a whole, and the possibility of bosses dropping cards and other content, is also unlocked here. Alliance raids will always drop cards that are rolled on, but the concept of randomly looting a card is something you need to unlock. Chocobo Racing, which is found in the actually square Chocobo Square, is an odd take on something akin to something like Mario Kart, complete with item boxes and speed management. Your Chocobo can be trained to have stronger stats, and you have a rank, and you can even breed more capable Chocobos. Again, this is a type of content that has a lot of depth to dive into if you find it fun. The possible reward of MGP allegedly increases as your rank increases, however, just as the very starting rank when you unlock the mode. You can see the award difference between last place, me, and the first place, Sip. Unless the reward for winning increases drastically, this cannot compete with the minigame simply because it takes a while to get into a race and then it takes a while to finish. The game mode includes a tutorial, and if you want to get into it, I highly advise that you pay attention to the tutorial, as it is a lot more complicated than it looks. Lord of Verminion, which is found in the Minion Square, which is round, is like a simplified strategy wargame where you use minions as your troops. You can quite literally summon up any minion you like from your arsenal. However, due to the pace of the game, you should preferably pick out your favorites and put on the action bars to use. Take note of the different stats on the minions, including their cost, as well as special abilities, not to mention that some of them do extra damage against certain structures. There's also a rock paper scissors system, so make sure to vary your troop choices. This also has a tutorial that I advise you follow, although, again, the MGP is not really worth it. On the other hand, there are a few Lord of the Minion exclusive rewards, including minions. And finally, the legendary Doman Mahjong game, which is found in the east side of the Wonder Square, which is round. The simplest way I can explain it is that it is a very complex take on Go Fish, and even that is heavily oversimplifying it. I think it takes a lot of time to get into and truly understand this minigame, but I have been told that this minigame is such a well-made version of a real-life Mahjong game that there are players that play Final Fantasy XIV just for this. For me personally, it's not for me. I think I aged a few years in this single match. If you are getting into the mode, I would recommend keeping a list of what all the different moves mean, because their names will not explain it on their own. Furthermore, while learning, you may find the hint box helpful, which I used mainly for this demonstration. Mahjong, at least against NPCs, appear to grant no MGP at all, so you should only play this game if you find it fun, of course. Note that you can actually queue into matches of Triple Triad, Lord of Verminion, Chocobo races and Mahjong through the Duty Finder, so you can do something else while waiting for other players for these activities. And that leads us to the final bit, about other ways to go about getting MGP. In the challenge log, there is a whole section dedicated to the Gold Saucer, which grants you extra MGP for simply doing activities that you may or may not have done anyway. For example, playing Mahjong against players is an activity in the challenge log that awards MGP. Lord of Verminion in particular awards quite a lot of MGP through this log specifically. Regarding options that have nothing to do with the Gold Saucer itself, you can always trade in Triple Triad cards you find in the world that you don't need, duplicates. And the Wondrous Tales journal can also grant you 30,000, 100,000 and 1 million MGP for 1, 2 and 3 lines respectively. Although, I will heavily advise, should you get 3 lines, to take the Gold Commendation. Some of the items it gives access to can be worth over 20 million gil. My advice, if you're aiming to accumulate a lot of MGP over a short period, is to try to not focus too heavily on just one method, like spamming the minigames constantly. Doing that will be brutally boring over time and may tire you out so you end up giving up. Mix it up. Try different minigames, even those that are less profitable. Try to do it in a way that makes it fun. That way, you're much more likely to reach your goal, which could be something like the somewhat recently added 4 million MGP mount. Bringing friends also helps making it all the more fun. Now, that is all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to support me and my channel, you can like the video, leave a comment, subscribe and hit the bell to get notified when next I post a video. And if you want to give even more support than that, you can also become a member of the channel. Fun fact, the Final Fantasy XV car, Regalia Type G, was, as part of a crossover event, sold in the Gold Saucer for 200,000 MGP. It has been a while since it was available to purchase last, however, when it is available, it is possibly the cheapest and most easily accessible 4-seat mount in the game. There's also something comedic about driving around a fantasy universe in a car like that.